Hey everyone, welcome to Team Call for July the 20th. It's wonderful to have so many of you. And I am excited because we should be having Kimberly, Holly, and Donna on this call. I think we're still waiting for Holly. We're still waiting for Donna. Natasha, tell me when you see them, okay? That's your role. Kimberly, you're on my top screen up there. You're sitting outside. It's beautiful in Ontario. She's got a swimming pool behind her. Why don't we just quickly share with everyone how you and I know each other? Many will know, but how did we connect?
You're my pastor. So when we started going to Catch the Fire Church in Toronto, my husband and I shortly after that separated. Many of you know that story, but Steve and I separated, and it was, I often credit Darren and Daphne as believing in our marriage when we didn't believe in ourselves and our ability to move forward. And so they really invested in us as a family. They loved on our kids. They loved on us. Lots of tears, lots of coffee dates where neither of us drank coffee. And yeah, just a beautiful time of getting to know each other through the hard, right? And it was such a blessing to have Daphne in my life. I used to, for those of you who remember that there used to be those bands, WWJ, What Would Jesus Do? I used to always think in my mind, what would Daphne do? You know?
What would Daphne do?
What would Daphne do? So she's probably got WWKD now with regard to doTERRA, you know, what would Kimberly do? But
yeah. And, you know, I remember.
Holly's on, Daphs.
Yay for Holly, waiting for Donna. 2 down, 1 to go. So thanks, Tasha. But Kimberly, I remember you and I sitting at a Starbucks coffee shop and you were crying. And because you were crying, I was crying. Do you remember that day? Because you guys were about to lose everything.
Yep, I do. We were just on the verge of bankruptcy.
And then things changed around. You told me, hey, we're buying a house, we're going to flip it. And then doTERRA came into your lives. Hey, Holly, welcome to Team Call with us. If I can find Holly right now. Holly, can you say hi so we can see? And is Donna on?
I'm here. I think Donna was just having computer issues, she said.
Hey, everyone, this is Holly. So, Holly, I'm so grateful to have you and Kimberly at least, and, you know, to get Donna on because, hey, my questions are Donna, Holly, Kimberly. Donna, Holla, Kimberly. Hello. So, Holly, Donna's on. Let the party begin.
I'm so sorry, everybody. My computer was moving like this. It was so slow. My mouse was just so slow and I couldn't connect. So I feel bad. But
no, yeah. You're here. So guys, so grateful to have Kimberly, Holly, and Donna. This is my team. They can get together on a Monday at this time. You have a lot of South Africans on this call, a lot of my UK team. Hopefully my Canadian team are going. So it's already being recorded. You guys, I sent you questions. One of the things that's always, because of my Christian background, okay, is just the heritage that my grandparents have passed down to me, the good. And so really the other day I was going, and I do actually brag on you, Donna and Holly and Kimberly, often to my team. Because if there's a team that is strong in mentoring and a team that is strong in generosity, that is what I've seen from you guys, okay? And so today is an opportunity where I want you, whatever happens, we want to be able to glean from you as a team, and we're all appreciative, aren't we, guys? So Holly used to work for me. I always tell everyone, she used to work for me for $12 an hour.
Yes,
those were good days though as well, Holly. You babysat my kids, and then Darren and I were at your wedding. Darren actually married you and Gabe, and Donna was at that wedding. Okay,
yeah.
You know, I don't think Kimberly was at the wedding, but my kids were in Holly's bridal party, and so we are really connected there. And then the doTERRA journey started. So I have put questions together. If we were in a conference setting, these three would be on the front of the stage, sitting in a panel, and I would have the microphone, and that's what we're pretending, okay? That we're doing a panel and asking. So you're all muted. If you do have questions, put them in the chat button, and we'll see if we have time at the end. So are you three ready? Thank you for your time. Because your mamas who live in a hot climate, they could be sitting at the beach right now or actually near your pools. Okay,
That's next.
that's next.
There's no place I'd rather be right now. So glad to be
Okay.
here.
So Donna, starting with you, how did the doTERRA journey start? And then how did you include Holly in this journey?
So my doTERRA journey started with skepticism, lots of it. The disbelief that this was a viable way to earn any money whatsoever, or I believed that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I believed all the things that many of you probably heard about network marketing, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And my husband as well, he was not in support of even buying a kit, never mind doing this as a business. And so I would say that if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't be here. And science is really important to me. Research is really important to me. And for me to have seen that not only these oils worked, but when I looked into the company, and I think the first thing that I looked up, actually I know the first thing that I looked up was doTERRA scam. That's how much of a skeptic I am, because I like to look at both sides.
I did too.
Skeptics unite.
No, just do whatever Donna says.
Yeah, right. No, and so I just was blown away at what the effects were from my son, who, I mean, doctors told me that he would be on statins, like ACE inhibitors, not statin, like he would be on high blood pressure pills. He was 7 at the time. He was 6 when he got his disease, and then 7. And so, you know, I knew there was something more out there than what the pharmaceutical industry was offering him, which was no hope. It was, you know, a Band-Aid solution that may or may not work, but the side effects were worse than putting him on this Band-Aid solution. And when I saw what had happened, and then looking into the company and realizing and recognizing the science, the foundation, the ability for them to be skeptic like myself over ownerships of companies that are not always honorable, not only to the purity of the oils, but the potency of the oils, the way that they treat their farmers. You know, that is so important to me. Sustainability, like all of those things were so important to me. And I could not move forward unless I knew what this company was about. And so my beginnings started with skepticism, research, and then I kind of dove in, and I couldn't deny what I was seeing in front of me. And as I started sharing with people, my clients, because I was a holistic health coach before this, and I saw what was happening. And long story short, one of those people that were friends of mine, where I heard that, you know, there's something going on in their family, and I couldn't deny that I had something. And it would have been selfish for me not to share, is where I ended up moving towards, you know, to being a skeptic, to, oh my gosh, like I'd be crazy not to give this to everybody and to offer this to everybody. And of course, Holly, being one of my best friends and seeing what was going on with her daughter, I said, Holly, I have something that I think might help. And I won't stop until I find something that does. But thank God, doTERRA has labeled these oils and has done the, you know, the biochemistry and the study behind biology and chemistry and a lot of the health sciences that they have researched. There was this one oil that I offered to her, and Holly, you know, she did the rest of the work, because we can put these in people's hands, but you all know that the work comes when we teach them how to use it, and they have the confidence, because we can maybe give them confidence, but they have to put this on their own children. And our job is to really help them to just open up their hearts and minds to, hey, there's something here that you might want to try that's different. And so Holly did just that, and she is the rest of the story.
Yeah, and Holly, I think it was Breathe Oil, wasn't it, for Emma? Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't in Canada yet, so we were using the American oils.
You were using the easy air. So just going back to Donna quickly, what I want to tell the team is Donna actually also just went to a workshop with somebody teaching in her town that she had no relationship with. Is that correct, Donna? You signed up and your journey started.
Yeah, I had no idea. It was in another city. My friend of mine knew this person coming from another country that was visiting their parents, I think, during the Christmas holidays. And I said no, you know, for a couple times maybe. And then the one thing that she said to me was, it's about research. You're going to hear some science. You're going to hear some things about essential oils you may not have heard before. And I, of course, back then thought I knew it all, but I was like, okay, well, because they spoke my language, you see. They spoke my language. My language was not come to a party, even though I love to party, and you all might know that about me. But they spoke my language of research. And so you need to get to know the person that you're putting these samples in the hands of, because if you have somebody who's a science nerd and you tell them, oh, we're going to talk about oils and we're going to have like some la la la, they're going to be like, no, thank you. And then equally, if you put it in the hands of somebody who just loves girls' nights and parties and you say, we're going to talk about science all night long, then equally they're going to say no. So you need to really know your audience and know the people that you're in front of.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, Holly, did Donna come with a business approach or to help you?
No, I actually believe her words were something like, I'm kind of getting tired of watching you post all these horrible, like, we got to do something for you. It sounds like you're all going to die soon. So, and that was the truth. Like, we were going under pretty fast. So yeah, it was more just, hey, I'm using this. It's been working for us. I'm bringing you something. And I said it cheeky, but I'm not kidding. Like, Donna's one of those people in my life, like my sister, who I trust without a doubt. Like, I don't even have to. I love to research. I do. And I love to go find my own information, and I love to feel it out. And I'm very intuitive about what I do. But there's certain people in my life that if they say, do it, I'll do it. Like, I don't even question, for the most part, the power she has with me. I don't question some of these people, and Donna's one of those people. And I'll be honest, though, I did tell her when she showed up at my store with this oil, I laughed because I'm allergic to essential oils. And I was like, how on earth am I supposed to use this? Like, I can't even, at the moment, I had a bottle of Young Living Rose and a bottle of Young Living Peppermint that I had bought off a customer of mine, one of my store customers, and it was just sitting on my shop desk because I had opened both of them, and just from opening them, I was having reactions. So it was kind of in my mind, it was like a Hail Mary pass, you know, like, well, I've tried everything else. What have I got to lose? Kind of attitude I sort of took it with. And yeah, I mean, I didn't quite know what I was going to do with it as far as how to use it on a 14-month-old at the time, when I couldn't touch oils myself on my skin or any of that stuff. So I just kind of, she said the same. She said, you know what, the best thing you could do for her is try to find a way for her to breathe it in. You know, it's safe for her to try. And that's all I needed to know. I understood the baby side. That was my territory. I got that. And I borrowed the trust from her and made it work. So that was my launch into it. But I was hugely skeptical because nothing had worked. Like, medically, nothing had helped. And we were told that there was no other option, that we were kind of out of options. So really, it was one of those like, well, whatever. She says it's good. Maybe it'll do something. I don't know. We might as well give it a shot. And
how long after that did she approach you about the business? Or this is what we've heard, because, you know, we hear things, guys. Okay. So we wonder if it's the truth, but we hear that Donna built Holly to gold. And then, you know, she started to do the business and it became serious. Donna's laughing right now.
Oh, that sounds like a good, why didn't she do that, Donna? She should have. No.
Is that an urban myth?
Should have, could have. No, I don't think she did. Maybe she did. She'd have to correct me.
I can't even imagine where you would get that. I didn't even give Holly, I think I gave her my very first person.
Yeah.
After, like, I moved them, because back then we had more days to move people. But
you know what that was.
They never turned, that person's still a customer, but they never turned into a business builder. So I didn't give Holly anybody.
Okay, well, there we are. Mm-hmm. And then Kimberly comes along and has to buy a house And Gabe, who loves everyone and talks to everyone, and Gabe is Holly's husband. Gabe was the one who said, Kimberly, support my wife. How did that happen, Kimberly?
Well, he never even said that, actually. It's just that he told me that Holly had started this business. I didn't know who Holly was, other than like Holly was Gabe's wife, and that's all I knew.
I actually I met Steve before I met you.
Oh,
Yeah, I
didn't
met
know
him
that.
at Shelburne days.
Oh, the fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he was with, I don't know if he was with Jonathan or one of the girls or somebody anyway, and he happened to introduce me to Gabe. We just bumped into him. So I hadn't even met you yet at that point.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about Holly, and I did know that she had this essential oil business. Now, at the time, it seemed like, you know, people were talking about essential oils, but from my perspective, they were dumb. I mean, they were bottles of, they're brown. I mean, they're just boring and dumb. And I didn't have any interest. And so actually my first essential oil purchase wasn't from Holly. Sorry, Holly. But I didn't know Holly. So why would I do anything for her necessarily, just, you know, for that reason? So I actually bought oils from a mutual friend of Daphne and I. And I did that because she had invited me to a workshop and I didn't want to go, but because I thought it was dumb. Because I kind of thought of it as like Scentsy, and it's like, why do I want to do this, right? And so I just bought a kit of oils to make my house smell better, because that's what I knew that they did, is they made your house smell better like Scentsy does. And so I bought a kit of oils just to kind of say I did my thing. So I kind of got rid of the guilt of not showing up, and I just bought the oils and that was it. And then Holly dropped off something at my house shortly after that, or maybe like, I don't know, 3 weeks after that. And she was dropping it off for Gabe. And I looked at her and I said, oh, I hear you're doing oils. You'll be glad to know I got those oils that you do. And she's like, oh, which ones? And she's like, Young Living. And I said Young Living. And she's like, oh, I'm with doTERRA. And I'm like, dang. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then I kept thinking about it, and I didn't really know Holly, but I felt kind of guilty because Gabe at the time was so supportive of our family. He was so supportive of Carissa's sushi business. He used to make sushi at the farm. You know, that's where Holly probably met Carissa and Steve at the farm market. So I thought, for Gabe's sake, I should probably support Holly. So I saw that she had posted some promotion. It was the last day of the month, and I called her up and I just said, okay, I'm going to get shampoo from you because Carissa needs shampoo, and I need a muscle rub and a face cream. And that's what I bought from her because I already had oils. So that was my initiation into the doTERRA world.
And Holly had no idea. That day, Holly transformed your business, because I know my friend Kimberly. She's beautiful inside and outside. And, she tried to get me to sell jewelry. Okay. When she sold jewelry, she was the top of her company. Okay. I always go like, how much jewelry do you need? Both of us would say lots. But, Holly, your life changed. You didn't know what a gift. And Kimberly wasn't interested in the business at all.
No, I actually said to Holly that day, do you remember, Holly? I said, don't put me on a mailing list and don't talk to me about the business.
Yeah, and I remember thinking in my head, I don't know if I ever told you this, I remember thinking in my head, I don't have a mailing list, but I think doTERRA does. Like, in my head, I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't know. How do I stop them from mailing? Because she was very serious about that, and I'd never been asked that before. So I was like, no problem. I'll figure it out, right? No, but it was funny because the only thing I knew ahead of time about Kimberly was that she had sold jewelry. And in my head, it didn't even, this is funny to me now because in my head, it didn't even occur to me at that point in time because I just wasn't there yet with the business to even think of her in that way. In my head, I was like, wow, she bought anything but oils. I had never had a customer at that point buy the other products. So that was like, this is interesting. And I remember saying to her, tell me what you think, because I hadn't bought any of the skincare yet. Do you remember that? I was like, I want to know what you think of the skincare. And she kind of turned into my skincare expert because I was like, I hadn't even purchased any yet myself. So yeah, it's so funny when you look back at how it all unfolded.
Oh, amazing. And Holly and Kimberly, not so much Donna, because Donna, you only came into my life when when I started to really build. But I looked at Kimberly and I looked at Holly, and I went like, if those two can do this, like Holly worked for me. She's as quiet as a mouse. You know, she doesn't talk to anybody. If Holly can be successful, I can do this. And the same, I went, Kimberly, she is beautiful inside and out. She's brilliant. But I also know, just like, you know, her feet stink just like mine. Okay. And you know what I mean by that, Kimberly. Okay. I always say Heidi Baker is an example. You always look up to Heidi, but you know, she's just normal. And so you guys gave me inspiration. Now, I have a lot of people, Donna, Holly, Kimberly, that are on this call that are going for Founders Club in South Africa. So my next lot of questions is just briefly looking at Founders Club. Donna, you know, you were one of the first founders in Canada. Did you have any idea what that was? Were you going for that? Holly,
No,
I know
no.
you knew nothing. Kimberly, you did know something.
No, in fact, I think Founders had been here a good 6 months before I even knew what it was. And thankfully for me, I had an upline, about 2 uplines above. So I had 1, 2, and then my third upline, who was forced to mentor me. She would say that she didn't mind at all, but it was interesting. There was the beginnings of my upline world was very interesting. And so I ended up asking her about this Founders thing, and no, I don't even think I asked her. I think she came to me and said, do you know that there's a Founders Club happening in your country? And I'm like, I think I heard something about it maybe, but I don't know what it is. And I didn't really care at the time because I just was doing my thing, serving people. And she's like, do you know how much they make in the US? And I was like, no. So she told me this number, and I kind of started, you know, again, the skeptic was trying to put numbers together and see, well, is that going to be the same here? She's like, Donna, even if it's a quarter of it, you would be making more money in a year than you're making right now. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And I think that just kind of it piqued my interest, but I still didn't know what it was. And so then I looked into it. And to me, to be honest, obviously, like, it's not about the money, as Brienne says, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. But in that moment, when I heard about this Founders Club, to me, it was about the honor of being a pioneer in your country. And hey, Vay, can you just be a little quieter, please? And just like the knowledge that this really for me is, yeah, it's the honor of being in, to me, you know, the owners had this moment with us. I remember in the beginning, like the higher leaders in Canada, and at the time, the highest rank was there. I think there was only 1 gold in all of Canada at the time, and all the rest of us were like, I think I had hit silver, but I had dropped down to elite after that. And so I was an elite going into this Elise Chedevy program. I think that was was it September, Holly? Do you remember that I went? I don't remember, but I remember just coming back from that moment, and then coupling that, it was like the perfect things coming together. And I came back, I started sharing it with my team, what this was.
Came back and said, everything I've taught you is wrong. Now listen.
Yeah.
Let's do this right now.
Well, everything that I just realized that, and I one of the best things that I did was tell everybody, like, go to my upline, which was Brienne Hovey, Kirsten Kirschbaum. Go and look to the owners of this company. Don't look to me, because I'm a hot mess and I have no sweet clue what I'm doing. And so I passed that no sweet clue onto Holly, who passed her no sweet clue onto Kimberly. And we all just had no sweet clue, but we just knew that we wanted to serve people. And that's truly what came from our heart and what I believe we were honored in. I think that God, like, you know, for those, I don't know if everybody here is a Christian, God, the universe, whatever your persuasion is, honors you when you believe in something so strongly, and you can't not believe it anymore. And I believe that all of us were just honored and in this moment of Founders, where it just came at the right time, where we believed that we were meant to serve a greater purpose. And Founders just started, and we all became Founders together. at least Holly and my team, like I had people on my front line, we all just became founders together.
Holly, I think, got a phone call, didn't you, saying, congratulations, you're a founder. And what was your response, Holly?
Well, I remember Donna telling me, we're going for founders. We can all do this. Like, we kind of had that conversation, but I'd never asked much about what it meant. And I can't remember who called me, if it was Rich or somebody. I might have been Rich at the time. Anyway, called me and just said, we're so excited that you're part of our founders group. And I just remember in my head having a bit of a panic feeling, because my life was a mess at the time. And it was just in my head, all I kept thinking was, I feel like I just got a promotion I can't handle. Like I was worried. I was concerned because I didn't know what that meant I was going to have to take on. And I just said to him, I was trying to be really polite, and I'm like, I'm really excited. Thank you. I have a few questions. Like, what's the job description? And I just remember whoever it was I was talking to laughed and said, no, job description, you've already done it. You fulfilled the job description. You're just going to keep fulfilling it. That's it. Just keep moving forward. Keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to reward you with an extra paycheck once a year. And I remember getting off the phone and thinking, oh, that wasn't that hard. That's amazing. Thank you. I still, even, the first year, I don't think any of us really had an idea of what that looked like or what the pay would be like or whatever. So it was a lot of fun. I had one team member who hit gold before I did and lost it. And then I solidified gold and then pushed right through to diamond after that. So,
and then Kimberly, on the other hand, is watching you two, wishing she was a founder. Isn't that right, Kimberly? But all 20 founder positions were taken.
That's right. I was not in that 20. And so, like Paul, I became a founder as one unusually born. So, yeah, I was number 21. There's only 20 spots, and I was number 21. But thankfully, they had 2 alternate positions. So I remember the kind of cool story about that was that I was really pushing to hit Blue Diamond. I was already a diamond. I was pushing to hit Blue Diamond. This was just before Canada was about to officially open. And my daughter, many, many months before, when I was trying to hit Blue Diamond and I was feeling discouraged because, my frontline leaders were it was just, things were not working out. Anyway, my daughter had put onto my Facebook page, congratulations to Kimberly Malusis, doTERRA Canadian founder and Blue Diamond leader. And she did it to encourage me, because I was like a struggling diamond at the time, kind of duct tape diamond, not a founder. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Like, it was almost like sadistic. And so many months later, when I was really pushing to hit Blue Diamond, I remember it was the month of May, and I was really pushing to hit it. Halfway through the month, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if this is going to happen. I really don't know if this is going to happen. I felt so discouraged. And that's when I got a call from Jared that said, and he said, congratulations, you're a Canadian founder, because somebody had lost their position and I was the first alternate position. And so that's the month where I felt encouraged, and I remembered what my daughter had written, and I said, okay, Blue Diamond's happening. And I did. I hit Blue Diamond that month and a Canadian founder. So it's kind of funny. She was prophetic without even knowing.
And we were so excited. I had no idea what founder was, but I do now, okay? And I do really want that for many of my South African team, okay?
And can I just say, for the South African team too, like I watched the video of the US founders recently when they opened up US Founders 2.0. And I guess what really struck me is that there are these people that we kind of assume, like they're just all that, right? And you got to hear their struggles, and it's like, oh, they're normal people, and they really didn't think it was possible, and they were dirt poor, and it's our story. Like, that really is our story. Like, I remember Donna saying how she couldn't even buy mitts for her kids at one point, and we had almost become bankrupt. And so you hear, and it's just like ordinary people. We're just really ordinary people that work hard and that believe something and are crazy enough to believe it's possible, and then it happens.
It is possible. So thank you. So juggling family life and your husband's role in your business. Donna, anything you want to say into that? How, because you've got three kids.
Mm-hmm.
3 kids. Holly's got 3 cute kids. Kimberly's got 4. Okay, Donna, juggling family life and Brad's role in your business.
Well, in the beginning months, Brad was my personal assistant. That's really what happened there. And what I loved about Brad's response to doTERRA was that he did not support doTERRA, but make no mistake, he supported me. And there's a difference in that. And so I say this to all people whose husbands don't support them. And I also say this to those who maybe have tried things and have not succeeded in it before, and your husband has watched that or your partner's watched that. It's like, sometimes we just got to prove it to them. You know, sometimes we just have to show them like that this is real. And I understand some like husbands' response in that, because it's really difficult for them to watch some people, and I've seen it myself, like you jump from one business that doesn't work to another business that doesn't work to another decision, another hobby, another, and if you're not consistent and you stay in and you stick to something, then I kind of don't blame them for not really supporting what their wives are doing. And so I have to say that, because it's not just about a husband not being supportive and he's a jerk, you know? And so I think in my past, I understand my husband's skepticism over the business of doTERRA, and I understood his skepticism over me in business, because I didn't have a good track record either. I'm spontaneous. I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't stick to anything. And yet here he is supposed to be like trusting me, putting money that we didn't have into a business that I didn't know that everybody was like network marketing, blah, blah, blah. And so it was a real recipe for disaster if I didn't say this. And this is what I said to him. I said, you know, I get it. So give me 3 months. And I just need 3 months, and I'm going to break even. Let me just break even. And you know, not everybody can even do that. So just find whatever you're comfortable with and give him a goal and say, let me just do this. And if I do this, then I'll keep going. And if not, then I'll quit. You know, and the reason why I say that very lightly is because I've seen people do this business who, you know, they may not have succeeded financially, but they have succeeded in every single part of their life around the finances. They've succeeded emotionally. They've succeeded mentally. They have succeeded physically. They have succeeded spiritually, you know, because we all know that there's this spiritual component that I believe is a part of this company. And so finances is not the only success. So talk to your husband about physical success. Like, give me 3 months. And if my child is better, or if I'm better in my health, then I'm going to keep going in this direction, you know? So just give some sort of goal for yourself and for your family. With my kids, my youngest was 5 at the time 6. I think my youngest was 6. And I believe that this is a family business. You know, first of all, my kids don't watch a lot of electronics. They're all teenagers now, but back then, you know, they didn't watch a lot of electronics. And so the only time they watched electronics is when I brought them to a class. But it wasn't in the beginning. In the beginning, I included them in handing out the bottles for people to experience. My 6-year-old daughter knew the Aroma Touch hand technique. She was giving it to people in the class. I would go to a booth and she would offer this to people. One of my diamonds on my team will say, well, actually my daughter definitely says that the reason why this person is a diamond is because of me. Right? So we can bring and involve and invite our family into doing this business with us, so that this is a family endeavor. It's not a one-person show. And I don't care what anybody says. If it wasn't for my husband staying home when I was doing classes, watching the kids, helping, you know, take over things that I typically would have taken over, I wouldn't be here. And so for me, this is a family business.
Thanks, Donna. You know, Holly, many people will look at you and your journey, and they don't know what was happening in the background. Like I don't, do you recall coming out to me here and teaching for me? And I had someone afterwards come to me, go like, oh, Holly's got it all together. You know, she's not a single parent. she does not know what's involved. She's got it so easy. And I just looked at her and I shook my head, because we don't know your journey. But you were able to get to Diamond the month that you gave birth. Okay. Can you give any feedback into any of what I've said there, or just how you've jugged it?
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard. It's not hard. It's hard without giving more of my story away than I'm comfortable giving away. But we were not in a good place. It was, I mean, Brad and Donna know the full dirty details of our entire lives. So they were privy to a lot of what we went through, and we are super grateful for them for that. And you and Darren as well, I know. So there was a lot going on, and Gabe's strengths are what built my team in the beginning. And I have no problem saying that, because if I look at my core leaders that I started with, they were his contacts. Vicky was his contact, Ruth was his contact, and Kimberly was his contact. He brought them into me. And like you said, I was not the outgoing person. I had an amazing contact base. I had an amazing customer base because of the reputation I had built with my baby store and as a doula and all of that. And I'd spent years building that up. So I had a huge gathering. I had lots of influence, and that was great in my own area. And I had no problem bringing in customers. But when it came to builders and business partners, he really shines, and he still does. He just really shines in that department because he's got the energy and the enthusiasm, even though he doesn't care at all about all the rest of it, right? So don't ask him how to do anything in the back office or enroll a single person, but he can get people excited and motivated and help them. And he's got an incredible servant heart when it comes to sampling people, and just, he'll drive all over the place, hours from here, and go bring samples and take care of people. So that was a big part of where our team grew. I was the one who nurtured it. And that's why our team is called Nurtured, because that's what my store name was. And at the time I just transitioned it right into that, but that's my heart. My heart is to nurture growth. It's to nurture people as they go through this journey. Whereas he's the vim and vigor of it all, I'm the nurturing side of it. So we complement each other very well, although we didn't learn that for many years and a lot of issues to get there. So it was not easy. He supported me in what I did. He was perfectly happy with what I had to do. The problem we were facing was he worked 24/7. He was one of the most in-demand real estate agents, an award-winning guy in his field, and he literally was never home. So, he'll be the first to tell you, our kids grew up not knowing him in the beginning because he was not present. So for me to just literally grow to Diamond, it was, that part of it was me. It was me carting my kids to classes. I remember doing Diamond Club and bringing Emma. I was hugely pregnant with Ashton, bringing Emma to a class on Manitoulin Island with me for a one-day class. We took the ferry over and came back. It was like a full-day event for a group of midwives. And in the middle of my class, one of the midwives' children came downstairs and said, "There's a really cute little girl sitting in our sink upstairs naked, full of bubbles." It was Emma. I didn't have a nanny. I didn't have a childcare help. I had nothing. She legit went up to the stairs to go potty, as she told me. And she had this fascination with sitting in sinks at that age. And she stripped down and had a bath in their sink by herself. Yeah. So I could tell you, I could write a book on the things that happen when you're trying to teach classes with your children, either in the background or in the home with you, right? I flew with Ashton, and I flew with Zach and Emma while hugely pregnant. I had to get permission to fly in Diamond Club to Newfoundland, my only time I've ever been there, to teach classes for a former customer of mine from Orangeville, and did that all by myself, right? Like, there are things, I was terrified. I'm flying pregnant with two small children. Emma was only 2 years old. Zach was about 5. And how can I do this? I don't know. I'm going to stay with someone I barely know. I'm going to teach classes in a place I've never been. I did it because like you've said, my passion for my leaders to see that this was possible. At that time, I had that passion growing, but the passion to change my life was so intense because I knew that if it didn't change, it was going to fall apart. No matter how much money I made, I would end up being a single mom, and I wasn't willing to go there. So that was a huge motivator, right? And we don't all have to have crazy stories. We don't all have to have big dramatic things that happen. It's more about what is it that's going to drive you to do the things you don't think you can do or you've never done before. So you got to find that, and you do have to really harness that energy and run with it. If your spouse is, honestly, for me at the time, I had a terrible attitude. It was more of a, I'll show you, right? If I have to do this on my own, I'm going to be wildly successful and do it on my own. you know, and that's not to downplay his role in it. He definitely had a huge hand in helping build our team. But as far as my motivation, it wasn't in the right place. It wasn't coming from a good place. But I trust and I know that God works all things out for good, right? And through it all, my heart's prayer and desire was still keep our family together. It wasn't, I'm going to show you and I'm going to get out of here. It was, I'll show you that I can do this for us. And if, you know, if this is where it goes, it's where it goes. But that's not my desire. My desire is to keep us whole and get help and be healthy, right? So yeah, I think even now today, I mean, we've found a much better rhythm, how we work together. It's still not perfect. Anybody who knows Gabe knows there's absolutely no possibility that it will be perfect. I'm not saying because he's the problem. I'm saying because we're so opposite. There's like literally night and day. You know, he flies by the seat of his pants and I pick up the pieces as we run along behind him, right? So we've figured out our groove. We've figured out how to make it work. We've grown in respect for each other's strengths. I use a system called the bank code, kind of like Strength Finder, kind of like Enneagram, all that kind of stuff, but it's a lot faster. I use it with our kids. I use it with my customers when I sit down to do a wellness consult. And then I just pull from that and I speak their code. I speak their language, kind of like we've already said. So even with a spouse or with your kids, you know, Zach's my nurturer. He's my super sensitive kid who's going to serve the world no matter what it takes. And if I can get him involved in, you know, looking after the kids while I do a Zoom, which is what he's doing right now, he feels fulfilled and he's thrilled to do it. Whereas with Emma, if she can do some oil videos for me, that is like, then she's the most clever girl in the world, and she'll text Auntie Daphne and tell her that she's the most clever girl in the world. So it's knowing what lights people up that are close to you, that you need their support, and speaking their language. In the beginning, if I had been able to tell Gabe how I make money at this business, it would have saved us a lot of heartache. I just didn't know. I had no clue. All he wanted to know was, how do you get paid? I don't know. I had no idea. I just had checks showing up in the mail. So I didn't take the time to learn it because it didn't matter to me. I was just grateful someone was willing to pay me for sharing oils, right? So find what matters to them and then speak that language and touch that. It's like a love language. It's like anything else that I think a lot of us already know, but it's applying it to our business. So I'm going to give a little plug because I know some of you have met him for the Network Marketing Husband. My friend Tim, he's a pastor. He's got a brilliant book called The Network Marketing Husband. So if you ever want him to hop on and do a chat with your teams about how to get husbands involved or on board, he's beautiful at speaking to them. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, Holly. Yeah, and we love you both so dearly, Gabe and Holly, and your 3 kids. Now, Kimberly and I have 3 kids that are similar age, and then Kimberly has what we would call a lot lamuki, okay? Kimberly, we've seen how you've raised Jonathan, and he goes with you everywhere except the spas. Like, do you want to give any input, or can you? Family life, juggling business, Steve's role in your business. I think Steve knows how to put your ID number in and your password.
Yeah, he does the play-by-play at month end. Like, oh, Daphne's really close to getting her 1,500 pounds. He tracks everybody, but he doesn't know how to do an enrollment. He doesn't know how to teach a class. He wouldn't know what to do to sample somebody. But he actually talks to people all the time, and because he's excited, you know, he'll then just transfer them over to me, and then I'll take it from there. So yeah, he's not really involved in the business. You know, some of us get really jealous when we look at like Kirsten and Kyle Kirschbaum, and we're like, why can't everybody be like Kyle? He's so involved, you know. But Steve's never been like that, and I just had to release him to just be who he is. It frustrates me sometimes when he'll come home with, you know, having purchased probiotics, and it's like, Steve, doTERRA has probiotics. Why are you buying probiotics? It's like, oh, you know. So sometimes it gets frustrating, but the thing is, he is what he is, and he does what he does really well, and that is that he's very good, more supportive. So he's always been very supportive of me, kind of like Donna. You know, he actually believed, though, in doTERRA even before I did. I remember the very first business opportunity event I went to, which was basically me, Holly, Gabe, and Ruth chatting in her living room about frankincense and how awesome it was. And like, I'm excited. Are you excited? Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, let's do this. Like that was the business opportunity. So then I come home and Steve has already done his research and he's like super, pumped about doTERRA and how great they are as a company and they have no debt. And he's like telling me all this information. It's like, oh, maybe you should tell Holly so she can include that in her business opportunity presentation. So he was really like pro doTERRA early on. But, he mostly saw the vision of what was possible. He believed in me, and he was more, I could not have traveled and done Diamond Club and done all this stuff, if he wasn't home taking care of Jonathan. And many of you know the story, but it got to the point where I was in the middle of doing Diamond Club. I was a gold at the time, and or I was about to hit gold, and he got a call from the union. So he was a plumber, unemployed, staying home with Jonathan while I was traveling. And he had already said no to 2 jobs. And if he said no to the 3rd job, they were not going to call him back, which is really not great news if you want a job. So he got a call back again. And if we said no, it was a big deal. So we had a conversation and we decided that he was going to continue to stay home. We knew that by him saying no, it was kind of like putting the nail in the coffin, so to speak, to his job. And we cashed in our RSPs. And the next month I hit platinum. And then a few months after that, I hit diamond and haven't looked back. But so it really is like we had to get to the point. If you look at the diamond article, when I hit diamond, the title of the article is No More Plan B. And that's really what we had to do. We had to like kind of give up our plan B, which was us both going back to work in order to really put our heart, soul, and everything into it. So the juggling was there. Like Holly, I didn't love traveling. I'm kind of more of a homebody. I love to be with my family. I'll travel with my family all together, but to travel alone is very stressful for me. And so when I did all this traveling during Diamond Club, there's literally times that I was driving out of my driveway in tears because I was like, I don't want to leave home again. And I knew I was going away for another 5 days to Quebec to teach more classes. And it was heart-wrenching and I was really, really tired and it was difficult. But, it's a season and you have to remember that it's a season. And it's just like, I like, look at, I'm a gardener, so garden's right over there. And if you don't work hard at the right time to get the soil ready, to get the seeds in the ground, I mean, your back might be hurting you, but you get out there and you have to keep doing the work, because if you don't do it at the right time, you will not have a harvest later on. And it really is like that for our business. There's times when you may not feel like doing the stuff, but you have to kind of do it. And I'm really grateful that Steve kind of jumped with me. So he's never been involved in the business part so much in terms of the day-to-day stuff, but he's definitely involved from a family perspective. Like both Donna and Holly said, this is a family affair. Everybody is involved in it. And so, yeah, that's what I would just say is it's hard. I mean, I loved being with my son, but I'm here with my son in the chair right here. He is right here.
Hey, Jonathan.
And the reason why I can be here without stress about income and homeschooling him and everything is because we made the choices before. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Jonathan, I have to tell everybody, I was at your birth. I saw you come into this world. Okay, so I know more about Kimberly's story and Holly's. I don't know about Donna, this part, but we get to the rank of, you guys are presidential, but we think, hey, everything's in place, and nothing goes as easily and smoothly as we would like to. Okay, Donna, don't know what your journey's been like. Okay, I know a little bit of Holly's and Kimberly's. Do you guys just give any input into how can we be encouraged when a leg that you're counting on doesn't show up and it crumbles, or you got to find new builders, anything?
Yesterday? You mean like yesterday?
Yeah. This happens to all of us, and to maybe not Marie Kim, but it happens to the rest of the normal world. And I think what I've recognized is that there's this part of us that has to understand our own passion about doTERRA. And the reason why we do what we do is not is not so that we can hit presidential diamond. That word, those words, presidential diamond, was not even on my radar. It was diamond. And diamond with 4 golds, by the way, not just diamonds with 4 silvers, but diamonds with 4 golds, because that's where you solidify. And of course, blue diamond was something that I went for, and then I was able to solidify 4 golds, and then you, at that point, it's really easy. Meaning there's still work to do, but your hours go down. Once you hit, and I don't know if all of you have seen the income statement from Elise Chedevy on call 37 in the daily mentor calls, but call number 38 actually, will show you that income statement, and you can see the hours from diamond to blue diamond dropping. And, you know, for me, it was just one day at a time to even get there. But I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I would be diamond in a year. How did I know that? I don't know. I did the work necessary, because you have to have a goal. And I say this, even now, if I don't have a goal, I don't go for anything. I just putter around, procrastinate, don't care, but I have to have a goal, and I have to have a reason for that goal. And it has to mean something to me. It can't mean something to the person next to me. It can't mean something to my even my downline or my upline. It has to be for me. And, you know, I've had these conversations with Holly. Holly's like, I don't care what I do as long as my team survives and as long as my team succeeds. And that's not me. Like, I love my team. Don't get me wrong. Everybody knows how passionate I am for my team. But when I come home, when I leave my team and I'm not on, you know, talking to them, and I'm not in their face and they're not in mine, I have to have a reason for getting up out of my bed, planting 2 feet on the ground and doing it again and again and again. And so for me, it was one rank at a time, one day at a time. And, but there was a goal of diamond. And then once I hit diamond, then it was like next, blue diamond. And then it was like next. But I think around the blue diamond, even though I had hit Prez, I kind of was like, I'm done, like I'm out. And I was not out in serving my team, but I definitely wanted to travel more. Unlike Kimberly and Holly, I am not a homebody. I can leave my family and go bye-bye for a little while. I am a bird and I need to fly. And I'm very sad about COVID right now, not letting me fly. However, saying that, my journey was not ever looking back. You know, if we look back and say, well, we had this leg and it was stable and now they've left, it bumps up only against our past. And the only thing that we need to do with our past is heal. And if we sit in it, if we sit in the past or we move towards the future and are anxious about it, because that's really, one of my daughter's best friends said this, depression is worrying about the past, anxiety is worrying about the future. And if we do not stabilize ourselves in the present moment, what do we want to do and why do we want to do it? Then we're going to be depressed or anxious. And there's no room for that in our lives, especially right now. So my journey really is present moment with goals, but I don't attach myself to those goals, meaning how to get to that goal. So I think ever since day one, I've had people that I would look to and say, oh, they would be a great leader. They would tell me words like, I'm going to be a great leader. And then they're not one of those people who decide to join this business. Okay, no problem. Next. It was always next, next, next. And I could say this all day long, every day for the next 365 days. It's always next. And that doesn't mean that you are neglecting the people who say yes and stay with you. So Holly, you can ask her. I was there. I was never going to leave her, but I was still next. Somebody would say, Donna, I want to do this. And I would be like, great. Tell me what you want to do, how you want to do it. What's your personality like? Let's see your strengths, da, 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 da. Next. So it's constant. And it's so fun for people who like people. You know, if you like people, this is the perfect business for you. If you don't like people, you might want to find something else. I'm just saying, because this might not be for you.
Oh,
But I happen to love people and all types of people with lots of different opinions and strengths and beauty and charm and different ways of doing things. And I think that, you know, my answer to this in short is just stay in the present moment, know why you're doing what you're doing, and have a goal.
Oh, awesome, Donna. Thank you. Holly, anything you want to say to that?
I'm just going to add on what she was saying, because I have learned this recently in the last 2 years. I'm watching how this happens. And I love how she said that, how she nurtured me and she held me accountable and she was my greatest cheerleader. But, and this is where I feel like I failed forward in the beginning years of my business, she didn't just stick with me and hover and nurture me 100%, right? She didn't just stay here and make sure she did everything with me. We weren't just like this inseparable duo who just did everything. No, I was inspired by the fact that she left me room. It scared me because I liked having my hand held. And I remember when she pushed me out of the nest of bed each time and how I hated it, and I'd push back and I would grow and I'd accept and I'd move. But I've learned that myself, I can over nurture. And I've learned that I can dump a lot of time and energy into those people that, like she said, say they're going to do it. And then you feel very personally offended and wounded when they don't. And my ownership of that I've learned is that I should have gone next. I should have stepped on. I should have been there to keep, feeding them the bits that they maybe didn't have. But you guys, you're in an era, we're in a place in doTERRA where you literally could know nobody doing this business, and you could get online and teach yourself everything you need to know to succeed at this. Is that not true? Whereas in the beginning, we didn't have a tear sheet to save our lives. We didn't have a pamphlet. We didn't have anything. So I relied on Donna for that because I wasn't in a position to go to an elite retreat at the time. I wasn't in a place to be able to go to leadership. I relied on her for some of that feeding, but she was smart enough and good enough as a leader to know, or to just keep moving on. And she's such a good people person that way as well, that she didn't just pour it all into me. And I'm glad, because I wish it hadn't taken me so long to learn it either, because while we have a good, close, strong team for the ones who have carried on without my constant supervision, I have watched legs die because I started them that way. So I am learning the next. I am learning to move on. We found new builders in Florida when we were down there. And one, was one I just did not feel the click at all. Gabe was like, no, she'll be fine, because that's his personality. I'm very intuitive, and I've learned to listen in the last couple of years. I've learned to separate from what they say they're going to do or what they say they're interested in, and to really feel into their actions, their energy, their attitudes, and get to know them more. I kind of stalk them on their social media a little bit. I see what they stand for, and does it align with me? Does it align with someone that I'm going to pour my energy into? And it hasn't in some cases. And then I see who is actually coming to me to ask for that feeding and that nurturing for the things they're missing. And if they're not, I'm no longer chasing people down and just spoon feeding them everything and literally trying to revive and breathe life into something that wasn't even there, right? So I appreciate that lesson. I wish I had learned it sooner, but I would say just please listen to, I call it being intuitive. We know it's how God talks to us, and we've learned to shut that off as adults, I feel, not on purpose, but because we're so busy, right? And we so badly want someone to be something we see in them, that potentialitis that we can all have. So I would say be really, really aware of the red flags, of the voice inside, and, pray into new leaders and really discern whether they're the person that you really want to have on your front line, or whether you're going to pour into them somewhere else. And use the tests that we use the steps of launching a business to see if they're even going to do it. If they're not even going to commit to taking control of their launching of a business, then what are they going to do in the long term? So all of those things, I think I've learned too late, but I'm grateful I've learned them. And, it's a process as we go along.
And we see, Holly, for sure, I see you. Today I've seen you both going a lot, and you've been on Instagram, okay? Kimberly, because I have a closer relationship with you, I see that you're always on to the next, okay? On to the next, because you don't stop looking for builders, Kimberly. You're always bringing builders introducing them to us. So do you want to give any input into Yeah, I know you've also had to rebuild legs, or things haven't gone as smoothly. Anything to encourage us, Kimberly?
Yeah, these ladies have done a great job kind of outlining that. And I'll just say that, you know, it's kind of that abundance mindset. So if you're desperate and you're feeling like this is the one, and oh my goodness, I got my 3 legs in place and one of them just quit on me, now what? That's going to feel very heavy. And so it's all about reframing and recognizing that there's so much available. There is an abundance of people out there that you can show up to serve. You know, if those people aren't the ones that you're going to invest your time into, then there will be others. And so it's just really about, I mean, how you feel about your business is really about how you frame every action and every event. And I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine who's building with me, and she says to me, "Oh, Kimberly, I'm so discouraged. I called 20 people and only one of them said that they were going to take a sample and come to the workshop." And I said, oh, okay, and how are you feeling about that? Oh, I'm so discouraged. And it's like, she just talks all these negative emotions. I feel like I'm wasting my time, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, interesting. Now, what if I told you that it was, you know, on average, it took 100 people to call before you got one to come to a workshop? How then would you feel about your results? And she said, oh, well, then I would feel that it was, you know, really, really positive and really good. I feel like, and I said, well, okay, do you see how, and I'm not saying that that is what you need, but I'm saying how you framed what that event was completely changed how you felt about it. And so at any point, if you're feeling a certain way about your business, ask yourself, how am I framing this? You know, so a builder quit on me. Am I framing it as my life is over, my business is done for? Or am I framing it like Holly said, okay, that person is probably not the one that I'm meant to be running with, because the ones that you're meant to be running with will run with you. And it's better to find out sooner than later. You know, if you have a builder quit on you 6 weeks after they start, you know, praise God, because at least then you found out, not, you know, 4 years in a dragging them, trying to get them to do the business and spoon feeding them. I mean, find out early, put the hard up early. I always say to my builders, and you're my builders too, but you probably heard me say, you can't take away the hard. The hard has to be there. And if they're not willing to show up and do the hard, they're not going to be able to persevere and really do it for the long haul. The moment that your success feels dependent upon one builder, that's the moment that you've lost perspective. So just remember, there's an abundance, there's always more available, always someone else you can serve. And if you have that kind of thinking, you're going to find them. They're going to be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, you three, so much. If I opened it up for lots of questions, there would be many. So I'm not doing that, okay? Because just in what you've shared, there's going to be nuggets that all of us can take away. Do you guys all agree? Absolutely. Let me see you all. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Holly. We really are, and Donna, we're so appreciative of our upline. We've got a strong relational and strong mentoring team, and so grateful for your time. The 3 of them live in Ontario, where it's really hot, and they live close to one another. So I was going to ask questions regarding that, but there's another time, and we'll organize this maybe in 6 months' time. Thank you, guys. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.